por dentro, tiene que volverla a encontrar De Paul, consigue tocar. Atención que le va a costar la segunda. No me lo creo, no me lo creo. No me lo creo, no es una entrada ni mucho menos fuerte, y desde luego es una pelota, a mí me ha parecido, Toño, dividida completamente.
That's the way that the Spanish commentators commented on the red card from last night, and to say that they were disappointed was an understatement. In this video I'm going to give you the headlines on how the Spanish media saw the game and so against Celtic last night. The first one I'm going to go to one of the papers in Madrid. Now, to let you understand, I don't feel sorry for the people in Madrid at the moment, because after 10 years of a left-wing government, the country has voted in an ultra-left-wing government, which hasn't left the people of Madrid happy at all, which is fantastic for the rest of the 17 autonomous regions in the country that don't like Madrid. Anyway, that's enough of politics. We're not allowed to talk about politics. Let's get the headlines from La Razón, which is the Madrid paper, the main paper in Madrid. The headline: everything made us look back 50 years, from the Atlético uniform that crowned the classic shield to the result. They remembered the first time that Celtic and Atlético met in the European Cup, which led back to April 1974. But times change. The tie was with goals, and with the greatest in Europe now is Atlético. Although Celtic at times seemed to recover the glorious times of the first British team that won the European Cup, even Atlético's numerical inferiority, which ended with 10 men due to the expulsion of De Paul, the Argentines saw 2 yellow cards, and it would not seem like a foul, but the referee on the 74th minute, he deserved it. He did deserve it, purely because they said it was a really bad tackle. To say that the Spanish media are not happy with Atlético Madrid is an understatement, reading some of the cutouts this morning that I've looked at. The only memory of the shirt and Celtic Park remain that Celtic, although it was hidden and attractive and intense, surprised Atlético in the first minutes of the game. Furiashi scored a great goal right at the start of the match, nimbly resolving an extraordinary 1-2 with Matt O'Reilly to break open the Atlético Madrid. Atlético seemed lost, overwhelmed by Maida's attack on one side, Palma's class on the other. Meanwhile, Milana, who was guarded the defence correctly on the opposite side, had touched stealing his own suffocating run. And then it went on to say, but Milana was not decisive in defence or attack, to say the least. Griezmann gets the penalty. They said it was a soft. They do agree it was a soft penalty. They're not happy with the way that the penalty was given, but they went on to say once again Griezmann acted as saviour, although with difficulties. The red and white 7 never renounces his role as leader of the team. He always gives his way out in front. Well, no, Griezmann was that was the same Griezmann that they're unhappy with, the way that he was play acting, and even his manager last night was telling him to get up because he never got hit on the face. Atletico went into the break with a disadvantage after Palma's goal and the right-footed shot that hit the post before going in. Again, it seemed that Atletico were faltering, but Simone's changes helped turn the game around. And then it went on. The match, the pace of the Scots left Madrid wondering in the first half. The Japanese already made his name in the team in the game, and they beat the Spain in the World Cup. No, they didn't. Anyway, Atletico found a cross from Llorente from Morata, which improved with his header. We all know what he can do. The captain of Spain lunged the head ball, and it bounced before him, right into the back of the net. Atletico were found themselves one less, understood the tie was not so bad. Although they're continuing to try, Celtic were also satisfied. They're also satisfied. He's no longer the great guy that came out from 1974. They're having a little bit of dig that's saying that Celtic aren't as good as the team in 1974. And they were a little bit disrespectful at the end of it, saying that Celtic were the weakest team in the group and that Atletico thought they would sort of walk all over Celtic, the 2 games that we played them. Next up is El País. That's El Razón, which is the sort of the right-wing paper in Madrid. The next one is El País. El País, they did a nice piece about Jinky Johnson. Done a fantastic piece about Jinky Johnson. the headline was the great Jimmy Johnson and the Glasgow battle between Celtic and Atlético. The former red and white players remembered the figure of the legendary Scottish winger who caused the expulsion of 2 players back in the semi-final in 1974. The Scottish press criticises the fact that the Madrid players dressed in the red and blue as they did then. In front of the main facade of Celtic Park, where the Atlético face Celtic this evening, 3 bronze statues pay homage to the holy trinity of the club that brings together the Catholic football fans of Glasgow. On the right, Brother Wilfred, the Irish Marxist priest who founded the entity in 1887. In the centre, Jock Stein, the coach who led Celtic to the 1967 to be the first British club to win the European Cup. With the revolutionary passing of the time, the offensive style with that quick touch and great football that was imposed on the islands. On the left is Jimmy Johnson, the Lord of the Band, the nickname that gives the title to the documentary about the life of the man recognised as the best player in the club's history, an unrepeatable and endearing figure to the team that ruled European football, with players that were all born within 15 kilometres radius of Glasgow. The Flying Flea, the French press called him. The King of the Jungle. The fans of the noisy tribute to the jungle, now defunct, they went on to say. And it's a really good piece. Atlético insist that there was no intention to recreate the pre-war climate of the time. The atmosphere was already inflamed because just a few years before, Celtic had faced Racing in the Continental Cup. The Scottish press heated up the run, calling Pindaro and their coach Tonto, they're just trying to wind us up now. Basically, they're having a bit of a dig also. But they were saying back in that time, Atlético committed 51 fouls. And there was an explosion of violence that occurred in the locker room and in the tunnel. The 2 teams got into a brutal fight, and the Bobbies attacked the Atlético players. The irony of that, especially with the Guardia Civil and the way that they are in this country. Anyway, at the time, the European Cup is dead in Glasgow. After that was one of the headlines. And the rest of it is quite a good piece about Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson died in 2006, aged 61, due to a degenerative disease. Johnson was the winger of his time. As a child, we all wanted to be Jimmy Johnson, says one Spanish headline. Jinky was an icon, and also the city where he reigned, the pubs. There was a band that endeared the Lord of his playful and understanding game. He was an entertainer on the field, and this was my stage, said Jinky. And so it was a nice little piece that El Pius wrote about Jimmy Johnson, which kind of goes against the flow when you see the media and how they reported it in Madrid. But Spain is one of these countries that does have 17 autonomous regions with 17 parliaments, believe it or not, and they all hate Madrid, just like Celtic do this morning. Anyway, on that note, have a fantastic day, Celtic fan. There will be another update video giving you some more of the Celtic news and how it was reported around the world, with the fantastic game last night, which was ended in a 2-2 draw. If you had said before the game, would you take a 2-2 draw? I would have bit your hand off for it. For one, I'm glad, because Real Madrid, Atlético Madrid are flying. They're about to go top of the league above Real Madrid. So when you look at it, it's a fantastic result by Celtic. You know, it is. Do not underestimate this result last night at all. We're all aggrieved this morning that we didn't win the game. We could have won the game. It was within our grasp. But with some of the usual stuff that goes on from a Madrid team, it's what you expect. The fact that they lined up 3-5-2, they wanted to try and drown out the midfield. It's the way that they line up all the time, and they try and go really defensive. So take heed from it. It was a fantastic result, and do not underestimate what we just did in terms of European football last night. So on that note, hasta luego.
Lit. Roll up to the party, roll up to the party, roll up to the party, roll up.